In the comics, the Daxamites are actually involved in the invasion storyline, which is coincidentally what the crossover is based on.
Right.
Can you even just tease whether or not you're going to be involved with this crossover?
I don't know anything about the crossovers, I'm sorry. I wish I could tease something.
Will we see more Mon-El backstory from his time before he came to Earth?
Yeah, eventually down the line. Yeah, the longer he's around, the more he talks to Kara, the more they talk about their families and where they come from, and yeah.
Is that flashback or is it just like exposition?
Yeah.
It's gone from there was only Clark, and then Kara showed up, and then like 30 more Kryptonians showed up last year. How do you think it would change Mon-El's approach to everything that's going on Earth if there were more Daxamites?
If he wasn't the only one?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's one part that I think registers as so human about these alien characters, because it's easy to sort of think of them as different because they're from other planets and it's based on the comic, but when you really break down to the humanity of each of these alien characters, they are alone in this foreign place. And even go to another country where another language is being spoken, you sometimes can feel like that. And imagining if everything you knew and everyone you knew and everyone who was like you is just gone, that you can sort of only begin to pretend to understand what that feeling would be. And Mon-El, thankfully, his coping mechanism is humor and drinking. So he sort of doesn't live in that dark, sort of hollow, empty place. But I think it helped Kara a lot. And even Clark coming by and the two of them fighting together, she felt this like rush of, oh my god, this is amazing, this is what I want to do. So there's also a bit of that with Mon-El. He sort of feels like he doesn't recognize that that's why, but I think she's chasing that, what we saw in the first two episodes, she's chasing that possibility that someone like her can also help her, because it's so much more fun and easier. But yeah, I think it would make a big difference if there were more Daxamites, but sad. Well, there's there's the new kid on the block energy right off the bat, which we see a bit of with Gwen and James, where James sort of admits to Kara he's a little bit, I think he says he's jealous of him, because he's sort of got this like shininess to him that no one else has, because he's a puppy dog. But I think that relationship starts off, especially when Mon-El's like, I thought you'd be more intimidating. He starts off on the wrong foot, so it would take a second to get back. But James is also, smart enough to see that this guy is just sort of clueless right now. So when it comes down to it, once he's Guardian, if Mon-El's trying to pursue a career in heroism, I think they would, see eye to eye in terms of what they're trying to do, but they might have different tactics. So that gets interesting down the line a bit.
But is he interested in love? Like, does he want a relationship, or does he prefer being alone?
I mean, from what we've seen, he just likes fun, and he likes going out and making out, hooking up, and just being a dude. And I think it's not really something he's had in his life, and if he has, sometimes people are hurt and then they go to that because of that. But he really strikes me as the kind of guy who's just always gotten away with it. So he's never had to think about, settling down or picking one girl to focus on. I don't think he's open to it because of that. He's never met somebody that wowed him like that. So take a second to wrangle. Get him to calm down.
You see Mon-El and Lena Luthor meet briefly in the episode that airs on Monday.
Yeah.
Is that a dynamic that you've gotten to explore at all past Monday's episode, or are you guys kind of operating in different?
The Lena and Kara storyline?
Oh no, Lena and Mon-El, because you guys meet at the party briefly, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That, she's her character's storyline on the show. Also, Kara has those sort of peripheral stories that sometimes come back into the main plot and then bleed back out. And so sometimes I'm there, like the Catco and then the party incident, and then honestly I can't even remember what episode are we shooting right now. But Yeah, you know, we all kind of cross daily. Sometimes you don't see someone on set for 3 weeks, and then you're with them every day for a month. So it's back and forth. But yeah, her story is definitely still a factor.
What can you say about working with Kevin Smith? Because we actually saw some of the
I
shooting
heard.
today, and it's a very energetic and happy set.
It is, yeah. He's such a, I mean, he's just a fun, good guy, and he's great at what he does. And for my character specifically, he's been awesome because Monel has sort of that, which starts in 5, really. He has sort of that comedic, sort of off in his own universe kind of energy, and Kevin's really good at finding places to add things, or to say, hey, what if we did this line while this was happening? So there's a lot of lightness that comes in his direction, for my character specifically, which I think will be really fun once it plays out. But he keeps things moving, he plays music, he's always like having people applaud for cast and crew members, and just keeping everyone engaged and part of it, that's all you can ask. Because we're here very long hours, so when it's fun, it's even better. How much singing? Melissa and I tend to sing Cats, and no, there's a lot of singing. There's a lot of random moments of bursting into song. And Jeremy obviously is a legend, so there's a lot of goofing around. Sometimes it's musical theater, sometimes it's System of a Down. It just depends on the day.
This is now your 4th CW show that you've been on?
Gosh, I think so.
So how does being on a Supergirl show compare to your experiences on like Vampire Diaries, Carrie Diaries,
The Diaries.
all the time?
All the Diaries. Supergirl Diaries, season 3. I mean, this Supergirl world is something I haven't really played in yet, so that's fun. You know, Vampire Diaries is fantasy and you know, these undead people and werewolves, and this is different though, with also with all the special effects, just the level of nerdiness that I get to access in myself because I'm such a nerd. That's really fun. Because I grew up being a big Batman fan and just loving the DC world, so getting to play also a character that's not up against like decades of comparison is kind of nice, because we looked at the comics, we talked about it a lot, and they sort of had an idea of what the character was, and then I didn't have to look at other people's work and be like, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to copy that, feel unoriginal in that way. I sort of got to just do my own thing. And we did, because in the comics I feel like he's really serious. I don't know if anyone read much of Legion, but he's super earnest and serious and somber, and our version he's not. He gets to be all the ridiculous things that Clark doesn't want to do, because Clark has 2 perfect emotions. But yeah.
Anyone buy make you read any Valor comic books through the 90s?
I got a big stack of Valor. I have all the Valor comics. I've read some Legion and obviously Supergirl, but yeah, those are fun.
Who was sort of your I guess spiritual mentor as far as those comics go? Were you talking to Jeff Johns, who was the one sort of saying like, read this?
Well, when I first went and sat down with Greg and Andrew, they sort of told me what we were thinking of keeping for the character and what they were wondering if we could go this direction, and they weren't sure exactly how heightened his powers would be when he got here, where they would go later, sort of what would fit into the story more. Because obviously Kara's development story we sort of skipped in the pilot, because in order to get the show up and on the air, you have to have a character who starts here, and then by the end of the pilot we see she's a superhero, and that's why we're going to watch the show that week. So we didn't get to see a whole season of her figuring out how to fight crime and how to perfect those skills. And here you have a guy who has all the same capabilities, but he's sort of like a lame duck version. He doesn't really want to, doesn't really know how to do it, and it's going to take him time to work through it. So I think that was their intention too with the second season, was having someone go through the hero journey that they couldn't do with Supergirl.